Welcome to the Authority File, the podcast that features conversations about the life cycle of scholarly communication. I'm Bill Mickey, your host and the editorial director at Choice. So we're in the dog days of summer, and typically the Authority File winds down a bit, but lucky for you, we're recording a couple episodes this month that feature a sneak peek at some themes that Choice is working on that have to do with library technology. To help with that, I'm joined by one of Choice's editors, Daniel Pfeiffer. Daniel, welcome to the program.
Hi, everyone. I'm Daniel Pfeiffer. I am the social sciences editor at Choice, as well as the editor at LibTech Insights.
Excellent. So tell us a little bit more about what you do, Daniel.
So, as the social sciences editor at Choice, I go through all of the books for poli-sci, economics, education, and a few other topics, and decide which of those books we're going to send out to have reviewed, and then vary the review through the publication process. LibTech Insights, it's slightly different, but still comparable. I work with a number of different writers, primarily librarians, who publish blog posts on our blog, and similarly, I ferry them through the publication process, taking it from pitches to the final products. And so I've worked with dozens of different librarians from both across the country as well as other countries, getting their posts up and highlighting the cool work that they've been doing.
Fantastic. Yeah. And speaking of anybody who's listening, if you want to write for LTI, please do get in touch with Daniel. He'll be happy to hear from you. Um, so Daniel's not all alone in sort of describing what he does. I've realized that I probably have never said what I do on this program. And so I'm the editorial director at Choice. And what that means is I sort of manage the editorial operation at Choice, including the reviews, as Daniel has mentioned, and setting up and strategizing around new product development, including blog channels like LTI. And so the origin story of LibTech Insights, which we really want to focus on for the next two episodes, is we had already launched toward inclusive excellence, our blog channel related to issues around DEI in the higher education library community. And that was doing so well that we felt like here at Choice that we could launch another channel similar to that in terms of format and coverage that had to do with library technology, because obviously, as you all know, that's an extremely fast moving area for everybody, and technology touches the jobs in so many ways. And lo and behold, when we launched LTI, artificial intelligence made a huge splash. But leading up to our launch, we had done a short survey, reader survey, just to gauge interest and attitudes around library technology among some of the Choice readership, as well as an environmental scan that looked at all the different types of technology um, that are being used in the library space, um, and where readership interest kind of coalesced around specific platforms and different technologies, and what librarians were really interested in hearing about it. So this wasn't going to be a blog channel that kind of presented a bunch of prognosticating and techno-utopia type content. What we really wanted to do is present something that provided solutions to day-to-day issues around technology. And I think and Daniel in particular, has succeeded tremendously with that mission. Um, and lucky for us, as I said, AI came onto the scene right off the bat, um, and sort of instantly started dominating the conversation around anything to do with technology in the library space. But And Daniel can go into more of this. We've covered a whole bunch of different topics, and Daniel, why don't you go into that a little bit for us?
Yeah, just one quick word about AI. I think so. ChatGPT became public right at the end of November 2022, and we would have launched LibTech Insights January of 2023. So it did really happen, right place, right time. And I think, more than just that, though, I think that it really helped to clarify our approach to library technology.
Mm.
As Bill said, we wanted to focus on the day-to-day and practical side, and that was missing from a lot of that initial AI coverage. you know it happened at the end of November. December was just dominated with everyone saying, am I still going to have a job when I come back in January? And we didn't want that to be the conversation around AI, and we didn't want that to be the conversation around library technology more broadly. We wanted to focus more on, okay, here's this new thing. How do we actually deal with it? What can it do? What can't it do? What sort of tests can we put it through?
Hmm.
And I think that in that sense, it really clarified our approach to all sorts of topics. And we've covered a lot. I mean, we've covered user experience and design, accessibility, digital collections, social media, instructional technology, just all sorts of things. And our approach to these things isn't so much about, well, why is X topic important, or how is it shifting the field, but what are people actually doing with it? And so a lot of the things that we published are more like application based. These are projects that people have done, or here are projects that you could do. We also do things like reading lists and news reports. uh, we've been rolling out a job profile series looking at different library technology jobs, and that's been really popular and just really fun to learn about. uh, and we've also hosted some webinars too. So, I mean, this idea of like the day to day, I think, has really been a helpful principle for us as we've been going through it. And we wanted to make sure that we also covered parts of library technology that don't require coding, or that like isn't the main thing. We wanted it to be something that people, whether they're beginners or more advanced, can hopefully find some sort of foothold, can learn something new, can try something out. And I think that that sort of energy is something that, we've tried to maintain over the past year and a half that we've run the blog.
Yeah, exactly. Um, and I think there's also a concerted effort to really kind of sort of diversify the perspectives around the types of technology that we cover, but as well as how it's used. I mean, we're not really focused on, big research institutions. We want
Mhm.
to hear from librarians at all different types of uh, sizes of schools and campuses and libraries. And, um, so some of the contributors talk about, um, just kind of real quick hacks that you can pull together that sort of make repetitive job tasks that much more efficient or even automatic. It's stuff that really anyone from any institution can get on board with. Even so, I mean, Daniel, like, it's been hard to avoid AI as a topic, because it is front of mind for everybody. And as you mentioned, people, emotions are high around it. Um, but I think, like you said, also that we've done a really good job around maintaining kind of a healthy skepticism, I would say, I guess, around it, and not dismissive by any means, but just kind of looking at it with open eyes. And some of that has come out in some of the video conversations that LTI features that include Gary Price and our editor and publisher Rachel Hendrick, as they talk through and demo actual tools, and look at you know how they perform and what that means in a library setting. And some of that often, um, you know, it kind of dispels some of the, I guess, hype around it, I would say.
Yeah, and I think that in some sense, AI may be hitting a bit of a plateau just for, kind of the near to medium term, both just in like how much more can it develop. They run into issues with say like the data sets available to train new systems, as well as like the physical infrastructure. We only have so many server farms available. And so, I think that we are kind of entering in, I don't want to say like a plateau phase, but kind of,
Mhm.
where I think that we're going to be looking at a lot more applications of AI and not like a lot of like really large scale developments just, in the next few years. And I think that that like really opens up an opportunity for, the development of say like policies and frameworks like AI literacy or like pedagogies, how are we actually going to be including AI in classrooms? A lot of instructors and students both have a lot of anxiety about it. Is this just cheating? How can I show that like I didn't use AI to cheat or what have
Mhm.
you? And so, there are like a lot of anxieties. And I think, this is me speculating. I think that, there might be a bit of a plateau that we're going to be going through, and that it really, this is really the time to be working out those frameworks. And that's more like human infrastructure that we're going to need going forward.
Yeah, I think that's definitely well put. And yeah, you're right. Things have settled down a a bit. And one of the things I've noticed is how development around AI in the commercial sector is just obviously huge and
Yeah,
going so fast. And I think uh, academic institutions have kind of taken a step back. I mean, they're sort of addressing how it's been used already by students, for example, and sort of writing papers and so on. But they are indeed looking at um, how policy. They have to look at policies around it, but also implementation protocols and like real world scenarios in an academic setting for using these various tools, because it's showing up in all kinds of applications, from curriculum development to uh, you know tutoring situations for students, to back end administrative workflow solutions for admissions, for example. um, and so yeah, and we're also seeing where situations where, for example, at a university where an enthusiastic professor in the engineering department might be working on a AI solution his or herself, while that school's administration is doing their own thing on broader
right.
enterprise wide applications. And so there's this sort of fractured landscape happening with AI and implementations and that kind of thing. So there does need to be sort of a centralization of that at various institutions, and things need to calm down and kind of get organized around how these things will be planned and implemented. But yeah, I think in the meantime, the library and librarians should and need to have a seat at that table to be involved in how artificial intelligence is going to be deployed on the campus, and how it might be, what opportunities libraries have from a service orientation on how to help with faculty and students in using it.
Yeah, one of the posts that I think it was our first one that like really gained a lot of attention was by Valerie Forrestal, and the post is called "Do we need librarians now that we have ChatGPT?" Playing on the old line, "Do we need librarians now that we have Google?" Uh, and so, I mean, I think as that illustrates in itself, things have changed, but in some ways have stayed the same. And a lot of what her post was trying to pull out was that so many of these topics of discussion or just concerns and issues are ones that librarians have already been dealing with, whether it's privacy or information
Mm.
quality or just ethics surrounding like attribution, these very basic things that, scholarship functions on. Uh, and so, to try to sideline librarians from this conversation is, just foolish. They have so much that they've been working on this for so long and have thought through these things and have these experiences. And so, really making sure that their voices are heard and that they're a part of this conversation, I think is something that's important to us, but is also just important for higher education in general.
That was Daniel Pfeiffer joining me to discuss the launch of our newest blog channel, LibTech Insights, and the ongoing trends around library technology and artificial intelligence. Join us next week when we continue our conversation. As always, underwriting opportunities for the Authority File podcast are directed by Choice's advertising director, Pam Marino, and all of our episodes are produced and edited by Choice's digital media producer, Sabrina Kofer, with support from digital media assistant Ashley Roy. That's all for this week. Thanks for joining us.